I kinda get the feeling that Peter might actually be attempting to flip back and forth between MJ knowing who he is and also forgetting.
That's great for any guy in a relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, she's mad at me. Flip.
Huh? Who are you? We met. You want to go out? You're cute.
All right, she's back into me. Flip back on. What's happening there, Reject Nation? Greg and John here. Hope you enjoyed our Spider-Man No Way Home trailer reaction. If you haven't seen that, it's up now. Thank you to everyone who appeared in that opening sketch. One of them being Heavy Spoilers, who has merch, and I made sure to rock it for this specific video. So he did a Spider-Man No Way Home trailer breakdown, probably the first one up. Dang, with Easter eggs and all that jazz in here. You know it's gonna be good. Let's see what's in store.
Welcome to the Heavy Spoilers Show. I'm your host Paul, aka your friendly neighborhood spoiler man, and Spider-Man No Way, the trailer has been released. After 84 years, we have our first full look at the movie, and in this video we're going to be breaking down the Easter eggs, things you missed, and discussing all the plot points.
Can't believe it's finally here, man.
It's been living in my head rent-free like Peter Parker, and I'm so hyped to talk about it, so let's just get into it. Now we start off with Peter and MJ sitting on a rooftop. This is something that has happened at several points in the comics and films, and I got a lot of vibes here of the original Spider-Man 3, in which the pair both sat stargazing. We learn that this is in the aftermath of Peter's identity being made public, but looks like at this point that he's managed to clear his name, even if everyone now knows it. MJ is reading a newspaper from the New York Post and not the Daily Bugle, as we learn that in the MCU it was an Alex Jones-esque show rather than a publication.
I gotta say, like, one thing that this trailer remarkably had me pulled into right away was the romantic aspect between the two of them. Like, they really feel like it's like they just became boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah.
They feel like they've been boyfriend and girlfriend for a while.
They've been through so much together, and it does enhance that debate of like, I don't want MJ to forget though.
Yeah, exactly.
On the front cover it reads Peter Parker and his Spider Minions, with him puppeting people, showing that the media is still sort of trashing him, even though he saved the city and also the universe. Gonna put some dirt in their eyes, and it also shows that those around him have been pulled into it too, which we'll talk about later on in the video. Now MJ reads one of the passages out about how some suggest Parker's powers include the ability to hypnotize females. Whilst this is thrown away as a little joke, it actually foreshadows the big reveal in the trailer, in which Peter asks Strange to pretty much hypnotize the entire world into forgetting that he's Spider-Man. Peter just wants to stay up there forever, and then we cut to him and MJ swinging through the streets of New York in the aftermath of the post-credits scene from Far From Home. Peter's face is blown up all over Times Square, with the mask superimposed onto one side.
I know, I love
like
that, so classic.
From the comics,
yes,
namely when his
so
spider
classic.
sense is set off, and it's also very similar to some of the promo material, which showed his face split between strangers.
I really feel like out of any of the Spider-Man live action that we've gotten from the MCU alone, this trailer alone feels the most like a comic book. Way more than Far From Home and way more than Homecoming. This feels different. This feels like pages from a wonderful graphic novel, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
We later see a shot in which people swamp him at a subway entrance, and judging by the location of this shot, I would say that this is how the movie opens. The street sign says West 33rd
yeah,
Street,
you're probably right.
which according to Google Maps
Wow.
is opposite Pennsylvania Station, which is
Get
where
your
Peter was at
research.
during the post-credit scene of that movie. From what we know of the film, the opening is very much going to be in the same vein as John Wick 3, and it'll see Spider-Man
Good.
being chased across New York as this revelation breaks the internet. We cut to him in the police station trying to explain the drones, and how they are what killed Mysterio, even though he was put in charge of Edith. Peter also sits with handcuffs on, which reminds me a lot of Man of Steel when Superman was being interrogated.
You know what else is like Man of Steel, BVS, when they're all like gathered around
Yeah.
this superhero in the dark. Except this time they're trying to kill him,
Yeah,
like
they're-
Richard Ramirez. They're
They're not trying to touch him for his glorious power. They're trying to bring him down because he's a menace.
Now there's a guy who slams down some papers in a
gotta be
split-second shot,
Daredevil.
and it looks a lot like Matt Murdock from the shirt to the tie.
Yeah.
We do know that Charlie Cox will be in the movie, and this is a blink and you'll miss it moment that I'm 99% sure is him. The 1% is because I asked a mate who said it definitely wasn't him, so tell him to shut the hell up in the comments if he's wrong, because I bloody hate the guy for disagreeing with me. Now we cut to him and MJ reading their phones, which clearly have headlines and reports about the revelation. I love how this and the opening of the trailer are pretty much them obsessing over the news reports, and it shows how much it being out there has completely dominated their lives.
Right.
Peter wanting to just stay on the roof away from everyone shows how much he feels deep down that it's changed things for the worst, and it nicely sets up the actions that he takes. Also, I love how MJ has sketches of people hanging above her bed, and this is something that she of course did during detention in Homecoming. Next we get what is clearly a flashback in which the character likely handed himself in or was taken to court.
Devil in disguise!
Devil in disguise, and Mephisto confirmed. Now here he's joined by Ned, MJ, and what I think is Flash Thompson, who has dyed his hair blonde. In the comics, the character was blonde, and it's nice to see him supporting Peter. Flash was obviously a massive Spider-Man fan, but ironically, he hated Peter and also bullied him.
Again, making it feel the most like comics, you know? They made Tony Revolori a white guy.
Yeah, finally, he's got some Aryan genes in.
That's not what I'm talking about, the blonde hair.
Yeah. Well, that also seems like an easy thing to turn into a bit with Flash. It's a joke.
The reveal has obviously changed things, and it will be interesting to see if reversing this knowledge turns him back into being a baddie. Next we cut to what I believe is immediately after the events of Far From Home, in which both Peter and MJ are getting followed through New York. From here we jump to him in school, and bruh, I cannot believe he went back there. You know what, I'm somewhat of an idiot myself, and I definitely wouldn't be returning there, mate. Steer clear.
I do find it like hilarious. After all that, it's like, maybe I should go back to high school, see how things go. Maybe I can still have a normal life.
Yeah, maybe nobody noticed. Maybe people weren't paying attention.
You know, kids these days don't pay attention to the news.
No, forget about it in 5 minutes.
Like how excited a lot of them are.
Well, yeah, they're seeing a superhero.
At this point, do they view him as a superhero or a criminal?
I don't know. Maybe he's going to clean out his locker.
Now we see Peter and May sat in their apartment, and from this shot I almost get the feeling like someone has walked in on them from the way that she sits up.
A pervert.
Peter says that this is about him.
It is New York.
The people he loves, and as Batman said, the mask is to protect those around you. Now this might be pulling slightly from the Civil War comic, as that had Peter revealing his identity to the world in order to show that the Superhuman Registration Act was something worth doing. Peter was very much the eyes and ears of the reader, and over time he changed his mind and went on the run. His arc actually ended with Aunt May getting shot, which plays into the One More Day storyline that we'll talk about in a bit.
Oh damn, is that gonna happen in the movie?
You very much get the idea
could.
that the meaning of his
At this
name
point.
has led to people around him being put in danger, and it'll be interesting to see if they lean into what happens with May in that, especially as we don't really see her in the rest of the trailer.
You would think Peter Spider-Tingle would have gone off.
Hey, there's a lot of issues with that.
Is going in on the couch shot?
Yeah.
He's just kind of just sitting there. But if it is like a threat that's incoming or something like that, you know?
Maybe his spider sense is just really, really dependent on his current state
Peter
of
Tingle.
language. Peter Tingle.
Let's
Maybe
get
it's
the
Petey
proper
Tingle.
terminology.
Peter Tingle.
Right, all right. He hasn't yet become
That's
Spider
right.
Sense.
That's right. That's fair. His Peter Tingles.
Peter Tingle.
Now from this trailer, we can also confirm that the film will be spanning a lot of seasons, as we catch Peter in a classroom with Halloween decorations hanging up. Cut back to when he and MJ were sat in their room, and we could see Christmas lights. We also know from behind the scenes videos that Peter is going to be in the snow at some point, so I would say that this movie takes place over at least the span of 6 months, judging from when Far From Home happened and the decoration around the sets.
We're dealing with like multiverse shit, you know, so 6 months might not be a real 6 months in this time frame that we're dealing with.
Maybe you're jumping to New York's in different seasons.
I think you should have, theorized going there, Paul, in spite of how fast you got this up.
Dude.
You're being lazy.
Dropping the ball, man.
You're being really lazy, Paul. But no, it would be cool this time to see Peter Parker through a bunch of different seasons, like Spider-Man through the seasons.
A Spider-Man for all seasons?
Yeah, there you go. That's what every suit is for.
This is my winter look.
Pierre comes up with the idea to go and see Doctor Strange by looking at the hanging wizard lights that are in the aforementioned room. He journeys to the Sanctum Sanctorum, which we can see covered in snow. Now why this likely is because Bruce Banner blew a big hole in the roof during the opening of Infinity War.
Good call.
Right after this, Strange was at the very least snapped away, and the fact that it took a while to get it fixed might confirm that Wong was too. During this time, the
Wong
elements
grew
have
hair
taken
that
over,
time.
and we can now catch him shoveling snow. But thought you could use magic. Bro,
I know,
you set a
right?
fireplace on fire, bro. Just melt it. and do that thing you did in Endgame. Just do that with the water.
I feel like you really would be not bending the rules too much just to tidy up.
If he can wipe people's memory of Peter Parker, he could use some spell to tidy up the snow in there.
I mean, the cloak could probably do it, you know?
Even like Doctor Strange looks the most out of a comic book in this one, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, his whole, like, his hair and his goatee are so crisp looking.
Yeah.
Like, they look pencil drawn in.
Now, Strange and Peter have a nice little back and forth in which they talk over what to address each other as. This of course plays on the first time that they met, in which they used their made up names. Strange's mug says "for fuck's sake," which sort of makes me think he's thinking that, seeing Peter show up on his doorstep. Anyway, the webhead has one request, and that is to remove the knowledge from everyone's head that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Now, as mentioned earlier, this is clearly pulling from the comic book storyline One More Day, in which he went to Strange in order to help save Aunt May. Strange even lived in a run-down and boarded up sanctorum during this, and he helped him to travel through multiple timelines so that he could see if there was anyone who could help. Unfortunately, everyone said that there was nothing they could do, and thus he ended up turning to Mephisto. Now, this idea of traveling through timelines could potentially be seen in the trailer, as Peter asks if he can go back in time or something, and Strange levitates at one point in a position that looks similar to what he did in Infinity War. Now, if we are right with this, then it clearly doesn't work, as Strange has to carry out a different spell, and as Endgame showed us, all that traveling back would do would be to create a branched reality. In the comics, no one was able to help Peter, and he ended up making a deal with Mephisto, and along with bringing May back, he also removed the knowledge from everyone's mind that Peter was Spider-Man. This was so that people wouldn't come after May again, and in exchange for doing this, Mephisto made it so that Peter and MJ never got married. Now, the fact that Strange is the one carrying out the spell, and not the devil who's always in the details, makes me think he won't actually be showing up in the MCU for a long time. Yes, I know it was obvious. I was just holding out hope that one of the fan theories would be right, and everything I said in WandaVision wasn't for nothing.
Well, there is something that seems rather devilish about the way that Doctor Strange handled all this.
He really does. He's the most sus part of the entire trailer.
You'd have to really play for one more day. Maybe Mephisto's putting himself in disguise. I'm not saying I believe that, but I mean, by this point.
Even so, even if it's not Doctor Strange, I mean, clearly you've got the makings here where we've got a spell that's going to go horribly awry, and we're going to need somebody else to fix it, and maybe Peter will get just that desperate.
Exactly.
Now, in between this scene, we hear Peter explaining to Strange why it's really important that this happens, and amongst the shots are him getting swamped, which we talked about earlier. Jump to Wong, who warns Strange not to cast the spell, and he promises not to, even though he gives Peter a cheeky little wink. Interestingly, Wong packs his bags and leaves, and from what we've seen of the Shang-Chi trailer, this might actually be him going off to fight the Abomination. Kevin Feige has confirmed that he is indeed in the film, and I like that we kind of watch him walking off whilst this happens.
I mean, I guess that'd be kind of weird. Shang-Chi doesn't make it explicitly clear where it takes place. I don't want to ruin Shang-Chi at all here.
Yeah.
Without spoiling anything. If all this multiverse chaos from like the Spidey world is happening, the Spider-Man movie, that would be taking place also simultaneously within Shang-Chi, to which they don't, I'm not going to say anything about multiverse per se. I will just say that this looks like it throws things into a major disarray.
Yes.
And it just seems to have no, you'd think there'd be like a, yeah, all right, let's just continue.
There are a lot of places one could be going, right?
Yeah.
We watch Strange use one of Peter's hairs in the Men in Black memory eraser spell. Clearly something like this is needed in order to tie a spell to someone, and the character pinched some hair from Thor in Ragnarok before sending him and his brother off to meet Odin.
He's really good at getting that hair.
Following the channel, then you'll know we talked about this moment in our last plot leak video, and it looks like Peter interrupting the spell is what causes reality to break open. He doesn't want his girlfriend or people like May to forget he's Spider-Man, and thus he knocks Strange's concentration off slightly in order to stipulate this. Earlier in the trailer, Peter does say that he feels bad about lying to MJ, so it does make sense why this would suddenly spring to mind. Now, if Toby and Andrew are indeed in the film, which worst kept secret of all time, then this moment could be a callback to the Happy Birthday storyline. In that, Dormammu attacked New York, and Doctor Strange cast a spell which Peter interrupted. This split open time itself, and he was able to view a future version of himself as well as a past one. He was able to interact and change events, so we might even see a moment in which Peter stops the broadcast with Mysterio. Either way, the spell seemingly works, but we also get what looks like a rainbow bridge.
Wait a minute, that seems to be exactly what would be it referencing for. Look, guys, we know Toby and Andrew's. We know Toby and Andrew and let's just quit playing around, all right? All you guys who've already been like, I don't think it's the Spider-Verse, but all that crap.
Of little faith.
Right, we know Toby and Andrew are in there, and I think he hit the nail on the head. I haven't surprisingly heard that brought up yet, that specific comic, and how that could be the reason why, seeing like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield borrowing from that, like, you have to really hit the nail on the head there.
Dude, I mean, that's blowing my mind.
How have we not heard that already? Have we? And I just forgot?
Not in any breakdown we've seen so far, any leak speculation.
You know what? We should read more Doctor Strange comics.
We should read more Doctor Strange comics and a few more Spider-Man trade paperbacks.
Or we just let Paul do it, and the rock stars and everyone else.
I'm just excited for Tom Holland to age into Tobey Maguire.
I know that, because it's not the same thing, it's just a different version.
Yeah.
This effect is typically shown when someone is traveling through the Bifrost, so maybe at this point a villain comes across the multiverse and into the MCU.
Also
Weirdly,
looks like in
this
Doctor
effect is
Strange
actually
1.
used in a number of fake fan-made trailers, so give yourself a pat on the back if you did that. You spoiled the trailer and you got it right. Well done. Now there are several villains that I counted in this first look, or at
like
least
Electro.
teasers to them. This is obviously the first look, and Sony don't want to blow their load, but from what I saw and what we know of the film, the rumours and reports are true. It's true. All of it. And the first big one is, of course, Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus,
Here we go.
who arrives at the end of the trailer and says, "Hello, Peter," during one of the many quick cuts. That was a really bad. I should have re-recorded that bit. Moving on. Now, Molina has pretty much taken the mantle of the spoiler man from Tom Holland, and he's been out and about telling us everything that happens in the movie. According to him, we see a scene in which an alternate version of the character at the end of Spider-Man 2 is pulled across the multiverse through a portal. If you cast your mind back to that film, the villain died after drowning a miniature son in the Hudson, and it's possible that when this collapsed that it pulled him across. Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin is also teased when a pumpkin bomb rolls towards the screen. We've been saying for months now that he's in the film, and that he will end up forming the Sinister Six. You also see some electrical sparks, and know from Jamie Foxx that he will be reprising his role as Electro, though his costume will be different.
I mean, after watching like so much of Spectacular Spider-Man and seeing the way you can visually realize Electro, damn, just from these little tidbits, you're like, that's like the Electro that I've been wanting to see. I'm so excited for it, dude.
Justice for Electro.
Yeah, seriously though.
Peter's black and gold suit has been heavily shown in the toys and promotional material, and judging by the circuitry on it, this will be used to fight the electrical enemy. Now, they may pull from this, they may not, but from what I've been told, the majority of the characters are what-if versions in which their arcs differ slightly, so if you still like the versions from the original films, then that isn't going to be room for you. We also see a pile of sand rising up in the trailer, as well as the lizard from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 jumping up at Peter while sits in a glass prison.
That was him.
Now, we'll be doing some minor spoilers here, just talking about the context of this shot from what the leaks say, but I know some of you don't want to know anything, so if you don't want this ruined, then swing out of the video. But I promise you, I'll just be providing info on the scenes and nothing really beyond that. As always, take these with a pinch of salt, as they might not come true, but the trailer does line up.
You've been pretty good so far, man.
There's stuff in this trailer that was
villains in this after they cause chaos across New York. Whilst he tries to figure out a way to send them back, Willem Dafoe's Norman Osborn shows up to ask about their lives, and they say the last thing they remember was Spider-Man. Unable to free them because of the powerful magic, Osborn goes to Peter and pleads with him to help out, and he tells him that these characters will die if they're returned home. He also says that the Peter of their world was there when they passed away, and Tom Holland's version is racked with guilt because he could potentially be sending them back to their deaths. So he breaks into Strange's prison and steals a magical cube that's holding them in place. We see this in the trailer, and Strange supposedly chases Peter across New York in the mirror dimension. This is why we get a big chase scene.
That
also
makes a
see
lot
the
more
city falling
sense
in on
now.
itself at one point like Inception. The effect, of course, appeared in the first Doctor Strange movie, and it's going to make for an amazing scene.
Okay. Well, visually, because when I first heard, when we heard that like plot description a long time ago, Peter would break them out, and I didn't like the way that was sounding. That was just kind of made me annoyed at the thought of Peter breaking them out, like falling for, you know, their lies, or not their lies, but like the way they play the story, because they do die, but the way you tell the story of like, oh, they might be like, Spider-Man killed me, you're the Spider-Man on my universe, whatever, Earth killed me. But I like that it would lead to like a real on-foot conflict with Doctor Strange and Peter. Like there's something that sounds extremely exciting about like Strange versus Peter.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can see
For that purpose, I like it.
Yeah. From the footage we've seen and also this speculation, it seems like, you could have it easily Peter and Strange at odds pretty early on, and that becoming a big complication to everything. This scene, it's funny, on the train now looks a lot more like, oh, damn, Strange is really trying to, like, get Spider-Man, basically, and bring him back to reality.
Yeah, because when we first saw the trailer, I was like, what's going on there?
At first I was like, ooh, adventure, and now I'm like, oh, no, he's just trying to trap him.
From what we get in the trailer, it looks absolutely outstanding. I think it's going to blow a lot of people's minds watching this in IMAX. There's also a big chase on a train, and it's clear that Strange doesn't mind throwing everything he can, including Uncharted 2 directly at him, in order to stop him breaking the multiverse. Strange clearly catches up to Peter at one point, and he pushes his astral projection out of his body, which is also something that the Ancient One did to the Incredible Hulk. Now, from what Strange says about double lives, I kind of get the feeling that Peter might actually be attempting to flip back and forth between MJ knowing who he is and also forgetting.
That's great for any guy in a relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, she's mad at me. Flip.
Huh? Who are you? We met. You want to go out? You're cute.
All right, she's back into me. Flip back on.
Potentially the spell broke reality, and him constantly doing this might be why Strange says the things that he does about living two lives. You also see what could potentially be Miles Morales' mother, and if you cast your mind back to the title reveal, you'll remember that the surrounding lines looked a lot like the island Puerto Rico, so it could be teasing his introduction here.
Really?
Other shots include the upgraded Iron Spider suit, which carries a slightly different design to what it had in Infinity War. To me, this looks more in line with the Civil War version that was in the comics, but they've also made it at least line up with what's come before. Now, if we look at the Happy Birthday storyline, it actually culminates with Peter fighting his entire Rogues Gallery across a number of timelines. This obviously lends itself to the concept of No Way Home, and I would definitely recommend checking out that book if you want some comics that the movie will probably pull from.
Okay.
At the end of it, Strange gives Peter Parker a present, and he opens it to find that it actually brings Uncle Ben back to him for a few moments. The pair talk about Peter's life and have a really amazing conversation that will bring tears to your eyes. No, not me though. I'm solid as fuck me. Now, another interesting aspect of the novel is that it ends with Doctor Strange realizing that by breaking the multiverse, he's caused a lot of problems in the magical world. It very much teases that he'll be facing off against several sorcerers, and potentially this could be what happens with Wanda.
Multiverse of
It was said that
Madness.
Loki, No Way Home, and In the Multiverse of Madness will all be part of the same storyline. I think it makes a lot of sense judging from the way that the comic ends that he'll be going toe to toe with her. Though we don't know for definite whether Wanda's gonna be a villain, I actually think that she will, and yeah, I'd love to see the Scarlet Witch go head to head with Strange.
I would love it too.
Marvel and Sony weren't kidding when they said that this would be Tom Holland's Endgame, and it's the culmination of several franchises and films that started out 20 years ago. There's a lot resting on its shoulders, but I fully trust everyone on board with the project to deliver something big and bombastic. This is definitely the best movie since Endgame for me, and outside of the Batman, there's nothing that I'm as hyped for.
I mean, yeah, this is Spider-Man's Endgame in every way, and then I think they've properly prepped for this, like setting a multiverse, getting us into What If, Sony doing Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse, having multiple Spider-Men in live action already.
That quote is coming back to mind of the Sony president being like, believe it or not, we actually have a plan. I'm like, I can kind of see it. Dang, I shouldn't have doubted you.
It's amazing, man. I'm so excited for it because all those Spider-Man movies are pulling from were massive. So yeah, this is so exciting. This is so special.
And yeah, I'm just so hyped after checking out this first trailer for the film. The action is great, the soundtrack is great, the ominous feeling and be careful what you wish for tone works really well, and it reminds us that Peter Parker never has it easy. Overall, I'm super hyped, and yeah, December can't come soon enough. Now, obviously, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the trailer, so make sure you comment below and let me know.
Well done, Paul. It's gone up so fast.
Seriously.
So fast.
Jeez.
I'm so impressed, man. Congratulations, man. Can't wait for this. By this point, by the time we're done filming this, I'm going to assume this video is trending on YouTube already. Knowing you, man. Get a heavy spoiler shirt. Yeah, man. Can't wait for this. Guys, subscribe, hit that bell, click that like button. Hey, we'll catch you guys soon.